I'm joined by speakers Charlotte Delafosse, Director Commercial UK at Navan, Katrina Tretyakova, got it right again, VP Global Procurement at Convatec, Nita Nair, Head of Procurement and Admin at Emirates NBD, and we welcome back John Butcher, who was with us earlier, Group Procurement Director, Procurement and Supply Chain as of yesterday, I remember, at Just Eat Takeaway. So first of all, could I just ask you all to introduce yourselves? Just tell me 30 seconds about yourselves.
Sounds good. I'm Charlotte Delafosse. I work in the sales team at Navan. We're a travel expense spend platform management companies. All good. If you want, you can take my spot.
Join us.
And my background is in a bit mixed. I've had a bit of a time in hospitality management where I worked with brands like Four Seasons and Accor in the luxury world. And then I moved over to tech sales. So I've been at Navan for the past 3 years, really focusing on innovation in the travel landscape, as well as the expense spend management and how we can optimize using a lot of the AI tools nowadays as well to make processes a lot easier for companies.
Thank you.
I'm Katrina. I'm with Convatec. We're a medical device company based in Paddington, London. We have 4 business units focusing on various medical devices from continence care, ostomy, diabetes, Alzheimer's care, and advanced wound care, if I mentioned that. So we're present in just about every country. We have we manufacture around the globe. We have a network of 7 sites. And being such a globally diverse company, spend management and finance is quite important to us. And operating in regulatory environment and various areas where spend management and tail spend and dealing with the local suppliers, global suppliers, there's a lot of challenges and opportunities that looking forward to this discussion.
Thank you. Nita.
Hey, I'm Nita Nair. I'm coming from the Gulf and I head the procurement and admin space in the bank. It's one of the biggest banks in the region. Basically, I'm a transformation expert. I've started with a lot of transformation projects in IT, and procurement just fell on my plate when there was nothing. So I've always started the procurement department in various units from admin, converted that to a strategic sourcing unit.
Thank you. And John, for those who weren't with us earlier.
Thank you. I'm John Butcher, Procurement and Supply Chain Director at JustEatTakeaway.com. I've been there 6 years, and I started, but like you, I was procurement person number 1, and my job's been to design, build, and lead the function since I joined. Before that, I had a number of different procurement and supply chain roles at companies like Nestle, and also some time in consulting. Just Eat Takeaway is a collection of brands that don't know. We're all about empowering everyday convenience. So for sure, we can help deliver your favourite Friday night takeaway, but we can do breakfast, we can do lunches, we can do paracetamol for the day after, the big night out. Perhaps you order some alcohol late after the pub. We can do that for you too. So all sorts of things in our company, which is changing particularly fast. So that's why I like it, and it's thrilled to be here.
Thank you. Well, if I can start with you, Charlotte. As you say, you work in the business travel space, and so much is being done online now. How much room is there for companies to improve their spend management in that space?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question to start off with. When we're looking at specifically the travel and expense, even just the payment space, I think one of the biggest things that we often see is that a lot of the tools are decentralized. So we're lacking a lot of the visibility, the automation, and it's not a very user-friendly experience. At the end of the day, we need to have tools that people actually want to use, right? Otherwise, we're not going to be using them. We're going to be lacking a lot of the information, the data, etc., and we're going to be missing a lot of the bigger picture. So by having, something that can consolidate everything in one place, we're always speaking about the input, kind of the source of truth, and then the output, which gives you that single one umbrella, really, one-stop shop, where you can view everything that you need to view, and then you can make better decisions when it comes to spend management. If you are scaling, growing as a company, even if you're looking to cut down cost, you need to have that full visibility into that. So there's definitely a lot that we can do, but it all starts with having the right tools in place that are suitable for your business as well.
Katrina, I see you nodding.
No, I can completely relate to it. I mean, just think about where we were, 10, 15, 20 years ago? Mm-hmm. your visibility was 100% retrospective
Yeah.
of some Excel spreadsheet at best. So by the time you catch it, you look at it, you try to understand what you're looking at, it's too late. And it's very difficult to go back and change behaviors or implement any sort of change management because it's always too late. Yeah. So with the modern tools and AI, I think we're definitely moving in the right direction. And live spend monitoring is something that will definitely enable data-driven decision, strategy implementation, better control, better collaboration with our friends in finance. So yeah, I can totally agree with you.
Nita, how far has spend management come on? What progress has been made in your business?
Spend management for a bank, of course, it's all money, money, money. So spend management has come across a long way. Basically, I don't even call my department as procurement. We call ourselves as spend managers. Mm-hmm. The only challenge that we face is the data that we have for category management and procurement, and the data that finance manages is two different scattered data. So we are never aligned with each other. The budget goes one place and the spend goes another place. So our biggest challenge is not only the visibility. I think visibility by now, everybody has it because most of them, I guess, the organizations have some ERP solutions. So data is there, but too much data and too scattered data. And how to integrate that to come out with the real value is what we want to look at it.
Yeah, I think I was meaning in terms of progress, in terms of tools and the tool.
So we already have an ERP and the spend. We already are having no PO, no pay policies. So all the payment data is there on the system. But as I mentioned, the data is there. But how do you use it for spend analytics? For a category manager is different. For a finance manager is different. So that integration is lacking.
And John, can I bring you in there?
Yeah, well, we found that data is definitely there, but it's everywhere. It's in so many different places and so many different forms. And we are less manual than we were in the past. Thankfully, a lot of our partners in the ERP space especially have got better at the way that they can identify data, process it and present it back to us. So we actually moved away from an external spend management tool, which was filling a gap in our suite now. So the source data is more available. But it is still very retrospective, looking backwards. I remember seeing one supplier literally appear on a monthly spend report looking back, and it went from nowhere to top of the company global spend list, like double the nearest one. And I was like, well, who are these guys? Where are they from? Who's spending it? And of course we could dig into the data to find out who, make sure that we can negotiate some improved contracts and talk to that stakeholder group and say, hi, we're procurement, we can help. All those usual things. But the fact that it was so slow to appear on our radar was a concern. So we're working to try and make it more timely in terms of its availability to us as a team and to the finance community.
But I think it's not only about what the data is telling you, it's what you're going to do with it and being able to see patterns, inconsistencies, rogue spend. Sometimes it's not obvious, even if you have, Power BI or whatever it is that you use. It's not obvious what pattern, what is it that you're looking at and what are you going to do about it. So I think what you're describing, it has to be taken to the next level.
It does. I heard a really good story that I cannot claim any credit for, but it's inspired me to take action from someone else at another conference about AI, where he described a situation where his team in procurement were negotiating contracts for packaging, and they were setting pricing in place for pilots at early stage development for products. And then they use these and then they call them off and then they move on to the next thing. But what he hadn't spotted was the fact that the volumes went up. So you go from a pilot and then you get into full-scale production. Your volumes are way more than they used to be, and his contracts didn't have a scalable price metric. So he was still paying small-scale volumes at a large-scale price. Sorry, small-scale pricing at a large volume, so missed opportunity there. And he's used some AI in a spend management tool now to track all the contracts, all the prices that are being paid, all the purchase orders, all the volumes, that then automatically triggers an alert to say, you've now gone up a certain level, you should be being charged a new price, or let's renegotiate. He's even now actually trying to get some negotiation prompts put in there. So that for me is like real future-facing, predictive forecasting in the spend management space. We're nowhere near that, I don't mind admitting, but that's the direction we want to go in for sure.
And imagine how much resource that can free up, so that the people who are currently digging through the spreadsheets and figuring it out can focus on something that delivers value.
Well, great, yeah. If you are digging, you can then do other stuff. But in his example, they weren't even doing it. They just weren't even seeing the opportunity. They didn't have the capacity to manually do it. So, lots of money that can be created to invest in other things.
So these are some of the challenges that you're facing. How about in the travel arena?
In the T&E space, I think it's exactly the same. And you have to understand, again, like how can you optimize the data that you have and how can you use it to make better decisions, right? So AI is something that we use a lot. We're partnered with OpenAI to really enhance the data that we have and how can we use it to make better decisions. So real-time analytics, really blending in the T and the expense together, because then you have all of the data for you and you can come up with actual reporting that makes sense for the business. So later on when you're forecasting or even looking at changing tools, you have all of that into one space. I think AI is definitely at the forefront of a lot of companies now. It's like the same as everything, right? You can go into ChatGPT and write a prompt, but if you don't have the right prompt, then whatever's going to come out might not make a lot of sense. And you still have to be analytical about it, right? You have to have somebody kind of looking over it and making a better judgment as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's using it in the right way. We can really help drive better decisions within a business.
Because as you said, if the user experience isn't good, you do get people going rogue.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't give the right tool or a simple enough tool to the stakeholders, they will create one.
No, exactly. And you have to think of I think in the travel space, like we're always thinking about the modern day traveler, right? So what does that mean? You need to have an app, it needs to be on the go. You need to have support when things go wrong, right? Like we remember the Heathrow fires. There was, I don't know how many thousands of travelers that were stuck. And actually, within Navan, the use of AI and how we used it, we were able to respond to at least 50% of queries that were coming through. Otherwise, that would have had to be handled by a human. So we wouldn't have been able to help anyone. So again, kind of going away from the topic, but it's just the use of AI and how can we use that? And again, having a tool where the users are happy to use and they know that when things go wrong, they have help.
I think making it easy is important. If it's not easy, no one's going to use it. And if it's hard, people aren't going to use it. There's one of my analysts in the audience here who made my life a lot easier, moving us from hundreds of pages of spreadsheets and charts to prepare for my Exco meetings and updating people that took him and his colleagues a lot of time to produce, to preempt any question. But we're now in a situation where the spend is all connected and it goes into through a Looker tool and it's very interactive. So I can have one or two summaries and then just punch in, drill down into the detail to kind of go in any direction that I want to go in the meetings or any direction that the people I'm meeting want to go in, so I can be flexible, be connected and knowledgeable and show it. And it's a lot easier for my team to prepare. And now they're helping us with master data strategy. They're helping solve some other problems for us. But that's all because of a really easy user interface.
I think if you can't explain your process to a 7-year-old, you failed. It needs to be that simple. And think about our attention span, right? Think Instagram, scrolling, Reels. It's probably, 20 to 40 seconds? And imagine, placing a purchase order, which takes, 20 screens, all this filling out. I think we're now less capable of that. So we need to make our tools and, processes are simple to the point where, a 7-year-old can navigate it.
Yeah, and they're going to be the future, right? We always have to think about in 10 years' time, who are the people that are actually going to be using these processes and tools, right? And you need to address everybody in the generation landscape, of course, but have to understand, okay, like where does that take us and how can we start early so we're not falling behind in a couple of years' time?
Anitra,
I have a different view. I'm glad that the audience, my partners here have already progressed a lot, but I started from scratch, where only the data was there and we didn't know how to start from that data. So the categorization, today AI is telling us a lot of use cases you can do, which I have struggled doing manually. And I don't know, of course, like GP is proposing 101 use cases. So now, am I ready for all those 101 use cases? I don't know. My pain points may be just 4 or 5, which I need to immediately address to take care of the spend that I manage. So basically, I started with categorizing the spend manually, 30,000 plus suppliers. We knew how much we were spending, but we did not know on what we were spending and with whom we were spending. That was the starting point. And we started like almost 10 to 12 years back, where there was no AI, there was no, of course, BI tools were there, some bit of, I come from an IT background, so we use some kind of business intelligence to generate some reports. Today, yes, when I look back at it, I wish AI was there for me to solve those problems. Today also, but we have to be very careful with all the AI tools that are available out there. Okay, they talk a lot, but be careful in choosing what is your pain point. Does it address exactly what you want the output to be? Like Charlotte said, input and output. Fine, input will be all the data, but output is your goal. What is it that you want out of the data to be, which means to you? It should be impactful to your organization.
I can't agree more. It's, junk in, junk out. And I think a lot of the companies and teams, organizations see AI or modern tools as a plaster that they can put on top of a bad process or something that doesn't work or something that makes stakeholders unhappy, and say, you know what, we're going to implement AI and it's going to be done. No, it's not.
Yeah.
You cannot automate chaos.
Well, we did a little bit. So we had a spend management tool where this was the one we don't have anymore, where it was automating and cleansing and categorizing for us and producing all these lovely visuals and dashboards. And we looked at it and just thought, that doesn't seem right. And then we looked at the data and we're like, that's bonkers. Why is this classified as that? And why is that there? And why is that there? And then we had the junk in, junk out. We just had such poor quality data. And all the sources for the data were common ones were even missing, like invoice data or PO line descriptions that were the sources for this automation was missing. So the assumptions that the machine was applying were too wild and too incorrect. And then we were spending 80% of the original manual time checking and verifying and teaching it. They never really learned enough because, again, the source data just wasn't there. So we had to go back to the sources and saying, right, we've got to make some other changes to get the data right, and then we can do all these other funky stuff.
This is the biggest challenge. We're talking AI, but what output the AI brings, you got to revalidate whether it's the right data.
Yeah.
So, what are you doing? I don't know. Are we using the right AI? It depends on the engine that you're using, depends on the use cases that you're writing. You better check what the AI is doing before you start relying on AI. For process automation, I think we are already using RPAs, and RPA is a better way to go because you know exactly what you're automating and you know exactly what output you'll get when you do RPA. But in AI, like you're in a lost world. You don't know what's happening behind. You don't know the source of the information that they are bringing. It's your data. You know exactly what you're buying. If AI is, like as you said, if AI is categorizing one of the spend into the wrong bucket, our entire budgeting and spend analysis will go for a toss. Even if one supplier is categorized wrong.
But some tools do identify the sources, but there's a learning to go through knowing which ones do identify the sources and do you need to rely on them, and this whole education piece is huge. So helping people be aware and open to the changes is perhaps one of the biggest challenges. We talked earlier on the other session about overcoming the fear of change, whether it's AI, which is the big thing that everybody talks about for fear of job loss, but even before that, the same challenges exist, I would say, in implementing any software. People are in habits that need to change when you're implementing a piece of software. So how can you help people understand what needs to be done in the new, understand what needs to be done no more under this new way of working? And that challenge is no different.
Really, yeah. But you have to know exactly what you need, what you want to do. You need to have a clear vision of what is it that I'm trying to build, and then tell rather than, launch it and hope for the best and see how it works out.
That never works.
Yeah.
But going back on the change management piece, I think it's key in bringing in any tool in an organization. And a lot of time, that's when you see a lot of people are actually just very reluctant to it. But it's also because I feel sometimes that we just don't understand the pain points. So we're not addressing the right pain points. So then, of course, we're going to be a lot more resistant to change. So it's about really understanding the use cases. How can we solve for it? Data, no data, AI, whatever that is, really. Going back to the source, and then you can implement something that makes sense to the business, to the people that are owning the pain. But if you don't understand that to start with, it's going to be a little bit more tricky to get, that kind of buy-in as well.
So for anyone starting out on implementing spend management solutions, what advice would you give them? Katrina.
You're looking at me. Start small. Don't do. I think having an approach. I'm going to revolutionize this space is probably not a wise one, especially given all the concerns and uncertainties around what AI can actually do for this space. So I would start small, whether it's a region, a business unit, or specific location, and accumulate lessons learned, best practice, and roll it out gently and phase it out in a way that throughout this process you prove to yourself that the result that you're getting from this tool is actually what you need and not what you thought you needed. So yeah, that would be my approach.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah.
You have to pick your pain points, strategize them, phase it out. Don't try to do everything together.
I think
Don't think AI is a magic tool which can fix everything for you.
Yeah, exactly. And involve sometimes as many stakeholders as you can in some sense, because you might not think it will affect them, but at the end of the day it will. So kind of going back to the end user, but if you're going to have a tool that you're implementing that people don't want to be using because it isn't user-friendly or it's clunky or actually it doesn't do that very niche thing they need it to do, then you've kind of missed the mark. So it's important to make sure that you're involving the right group if you're doing like some pilots or whatever in that analysis as well, that research.
I think involving the right groups is really important, but even before the pilot. So you talk about pain points, those stakeholder groups probably have their own pain points.
Yeah.
And I'm a kind of a half glass full kind of person, so I like to see the people that have got pain and I think of them being happy and smiling, and how can we delight them with this new solution, whatever we're driving at for change, who are going to be those advocates of the future, and then think, well, how can I deliver that, and then get them involved, get them communicating it, and that will always typically involve several other key people from the wider finance teams, because they control the purse strings, they control the payments, they've got a lot of sway with other leaders in the company. So if whatever you're doing has got some tangible value for someone in finance, that's going to be really helpful if you can get that on the
It's always the balance,
to-do
right?
list. Yeah. Well, and savings was one thing. So I know we're talking about spend, but savings is a part of that.
Yeah, definitely.
So I can remember the first time we shared a savings pipeline with finance. So it's not just are we sharing what we've delivered and the successes, whether the savings are reinvested or taken to the bottom line, but we started to say, this is what we're working on that's in progress. You might want to be aware of that, and actually we need you to help unblock it. And this is some ideas that we've got. What do you think of that? So that early visibility enabled other people to plan and take more informed decisions on.
And on the finance topic, I think it's really important to differentiate between the accountants, the accounting function, and then the finance, right? So we're talking about the people that are looking forward and the ones that are kind of looking backwards. And it's important to really understand how that really fits in the picture, because they're going to have very different pain points. And then it's about addressing these and making sure that whatever tool you're bringing in, especially when we're talking about spend management, can address all of these too.
Talking to your point on savings, okay, the biggest challenge we face is we bring a lot of cost avoidance. Our finance doesn't look that as savings at all, but they don't realize the whole value of a sourcing manager is to do that heavy negotiation, that if they did not have the skills, they did not have the right skills to negotiate that proposals that has come in, we would have paid more. But our finance doesn't seem to be recognizing that as savings at all. They only want savings hitting the P&L. And because of this lack of integration of the proposals with the spend management and with the finance budget, I mean, we are not able to present to the finance, the CFO specifically, okay, what is the value that a procurement team is bringing? It's not always on OPEX. How much will you save on OPEX? How much? I mean, you will save, you have regular spend on OPEX. I will do 1 year strategic sourcing, I may bring down 10%, 20%. New strategies are coming in, new technologies are coming in. So it's a challenge versus new things coming in versus all things going out. Where is the savings coming from? Why always OPEX, OPEX, OPEX? Then what is the value that the procurement is bringing to the organization?
Oh, you just opened a can of worms.
I think I'll leave.
I can remember the first time I threatened to walk away from the negotiation. So the situation was that somebody had a big contract, it was a tech contract, and they'd overspent. They had no controls over the number of licenses being granted. So the spend was just going through the roof, and they weren't tracking it, no spend management. And they suddenly got hit with a €900,000 bill for contracted legal spend that money that we owed them. And it was not going to be a cost reduction in terms of price reduction. In terms of price, it wasn't going to be a savings as such, paying less. But I said, well, if I can get involved and reduce this, and you will come in on budget, will be a great outcome. If I can negotiate away this, well, it wasn't me, one of my team did, negotiate away the extra charges. You're on budget, so there's no bottom line saving. But that's 900,000 euros we would otherwise have to pay, 900,000 euros of profit. They said, oh, no, it's not a saving unless it goes to the bottom line. It won't show in the bottom line. I said, okay, well, we won't do it then. We'll go and do something else. Oh, no, can you come back and do it and help me hit my budget? Because I don't want a 900,000 euro overspend on my budget. Well, there you are. It is valuable.
But unfortunately, these things need to happen for finance to kind of open their eyes and say, you know what, if these guys don't prevent cost increases from coming in, you blink, next thing you know, it's on your P&L as an adversity.
Yeah.
So
it's how you phrase it, isn't it? It's a saving versus what it should have cost, but not saving versus the budget.
But also, shouldn't this be a negotiation between procurement and finance on what the savings methodologies are? Here's what we call savings, here's what we call cost avoidance. And I always say, to me, cost avoidance is a super important bucket that the team contributes to, because if you don't look after it, if you don't put enough effort into it, you're going to suffer in a big way. It's really down to communication and partnering up with finance to say, let's align on methodologies and what we call savings.
So one of the AI use cases is exactly this, right from the proposals till the spend management, till the exact spend that you've spent. If everything is visible to the finance, then they will see the value. Yes, this is what we were. Today we are it's all on our trackers. Okay. The cost avoidance is on our trackers. The actual spend that we have done is on the ERP system. The payables is somewhere else. As he said, if some categories gets overspent because there's no control on how much we are spending, how much we have been allowed to spend. So this is where the spend management is all scattered all around the place, and the presenters here. I don't know whichever presenters are our tools or bringing people are talking I see all counters talking about AI. Okay, who's going to fix that problem for me? I'm looking forward to that.
Before we get to fixing it, I wanted to talk about visibility, because it's been a theme that's come out over the last couple of days, and ask you what challenges that you faced with spend tracking, with complex supply chains and huge companies. Can you tell me a bit about the challenges that you faced?
Tail spend. To me, that's the biggest challenge that we have. We operate in 90 countries. We buy super diverse range of raw materials and services to produce our products. And as a result, you have, big, mega global suppliers that you buy your polymers from, etc. And then it kind of goes down to the local site level or local business unit level or sales office. And as a result, you have this enormous tail spend with, I don't know, from 1,000 to 10,000. It's super small. But usually this is where the risk is, and this is usually the space you don't tend to go after when you start a new role or when you look at your category strategy. This tail is usually kind of neglected most of the time. But I think this is where the risk is, and this is where out of compliance, and this is where there's an opportunities for fraud, corruption, etc. So I think to me, tail spend is probably the biggest challenge. Being, the owner of the global spend, this is something we struggle with. And if we had a tool that could say, hey, this is your tail spend, this is how we can categorize it in the right way, this is how we can bring it in and have a strategy to work with less suppliers and consolidate, that would go a long way.
I think you'll be swarmed with invitations in a few minutes when you leave this room. Then there's a few partners out there that do that. Plenty more besides.
I'm sensing you were agreeing there.
Absolutely, because a lot of things that you say definitely resonates in the T&E landscape. And a lot of times we think of travel and expense, it's just travel, right? But at the end of the day, it can cost hundreds, thousands of pounds, dollars on a weekly, monthly, even yearly, basis. And not having the visibility into why people are traveling, what the policies are they being enforced? Are they being too rigid? What kind of flexibility are we providing with the tools, etc.? it can really lead to a lot of overspend. So it's about, kind of balancing, like bringing the right level of controls when people are traveling or need to travel, for business critical reasons, but also how we making sure that they're not, I don't know, buying a business class ticket or first class, or they could have flown with British Airways and not, United, and it would have been better for the company. And that's very difficult to put in place because travel is emotional, right? So that's, kind of one aspect here too. But then also on the expense side, if you're going on trips and you just have some sort of budget or limit that you can spend, you don't really know what you're spending on. And then that's also, money that is tied in terms of cash flow and so on for companies. So again, like it's really important to really understand and have the visibility into why people are traveling, why are they expensing, do they need to be doing this, but also not, slapping them on the wrist every single time, because then your employees will feel like they can't really do anything and they will go again outside of the tools because they can't use them. So it's about having the balance between the two, and that's sometimes quite hard to find. We see a lot of our customers struggle with that because they want to implement controls and they think that by having very rigid, processes up front, that's going to give a lot of control. Well, actually it isn't, because then employees are going to book off the platform.
We just, when we are sourcing also, travel is one of the categories. And we did evaluate the systems which are, like as she's saying, which are flexible yet bringing the controls and the compliance of, travel spend is a huge spend for any organizations. And people love to spend every single penny of the eligibility that they have. So even if you get cheaper options for the hotels, no, they will go and search for the hotels which gives them the exact last penny of the hotel.
Oh, yeah.
So having the right information coming from a travel agency and giving us the right data, we are able to control the travel spend a lot.
Yeah.
So we did evaluate a company with good AI solutions. Not only that, the ESG is becoming a focus. So we also started looking at the carbon emissions data when people are flying, how much is our carbon emissions. So our ESG team keeps asking us on all the kind of, this kind of data is too difficult for us to do. How many hotels we are using are green certified. So if the travel agent doesn't have a system where they have all this information gathered, we get stuck as procurement that, while selecting the solutions, where is this? Where is ESG compliance? Where is travel optimization? Where is policy compliance? So all those questions need to be answered in the system. Like for her, it's her system that she's working on.
Exactly. And
on the travel
ESG,
category.
you're very right, because a lot of the prospect, the customers we're speaking with now, it's key in their initiative. It's not necessarily something that they're looking to really tackle, and that's in the sense of like reducing, but they need to report on it. And, a prospect I was speaking with yesterday actually was spending weeks trying to get the data and consolidating it into something that is digestible in the end of the day. Not even sure if the data is right at the end of the day. So I think there's also that on the ESG. And just going back to your point about policies, but of course, if you're given employees a certain policies they can spend on a hotel, let's say, well, they're going to go right up to the top, because why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I got intrigued by you saying controls there. So I had a conversation yesterday with our CFO who was reviewing a travel and expense policy, and she highlighted a very large table at the back of it, which was basically the city by city across all the countries we operate in, the allowance that you can spend on a breakfast, on a lunch and a dinner. And you can imagine the permutations that there are there. And the time it takes to create that table of approved rates and then update it every 3 months, because it's a dynamic market and we want to be fair, but we want to be in control. And she made a very good point to say, well, actually, what is the value in being that tightly controlled? Let's loosen it up a bit, put some broader parameters in place and have budgets per person and per DMs and have a bit of freedom for people. That might make it easier to use, people to make informed choices as well. So we came from a place where we had lots of controls, having been relatively recently IPO'd, and now we're trying to strip back a lot of these to create a bit of freedom, a bit of ease for people to go about their day jobs and actually put the effort where it matters.
To add to that, we even on the system, on the travel system, we allowed people to book business even if they are not eligible, but then the system allows them to pay for the fare that they are eligible for, and the excess amount they can put on from their own pockets.
Yeah.
So the flexibility is there. So they don't come back to us saying that's such a big journey and I can't fly business.
I think that's great because you don't want to box people in and be so prescriptive with things. You want to maintain control, understand your spend, save company dollar, but at the same time you want for the user to have a great experience and fly business class, right? So I think there's a balance, and I think what you've done is quite incredible. Actually, it's something for us to think about.
Yeah.
That seems like a good point to see if the audience has any questions for our panel. Hands up, anybody? I don't believe it. Well, then in that case, I'm going to ask you one. On behalf of the audience, I wonder if each of you have one quick win in spend management that every company in this room could do tomorrow.
For me, it's just consolidating travel expense and payment into one. I think we really see the benefit when it comes in terms of visibility and automation. It's not that difficult to implement either. And then just having a tool, again, that users want to use, that's probably key.
Katrina, same question, please.
I'll go back to my biggest pain point, material tail spend. So we have chemicals, adhesives, etc. If we had a tool that could look at all these thousands of suppliers at the chemistry level and guided me in a way to say, well, these 500 chemicals, here's the source that can potentially be a consolidation point. There's regulatory side of things. There's quality. There's a lot of different complexities when it comes to direct materials. So I think if we had a tool that could help us with that, it's possible now, but it takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of effort, and as you said, there's a lot of consulting companies doing that. But if we had this material, guide of some sort that would help drive decisions, that would move the needle, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think I will look at it from a different perspective. Control brings policies, process and systems. Look at all the possible solutions, because the Maverick spend, for example, we put in a policy where how much the end users can spend on their own. If we try to control that, then we can have a better control on Maverick spend. But then that brings a complexity of too much controls. So how much control you want to bring, how much liberalization you want to do, depends on your pain point. For me, category management helped a lot. Supplier consolidation helped a lot. And obviously, these two parameters really helped us manage our spend.
John, your advice?
I'd say follow the money. Assuming you've got some visibility of the spend, is to work out where is it being spent and who's spending the most of it, or which departments are having the biggest profit impact, maybe through innovation. And go and talk to those leaders and then ask them the questions. What are your pain points? What would you love your supplier to do that they're maybe not doing now, and then build a plan around that.
And also I was thinking that we should finish by looking to the future. What do you think's next? We've talked about tech. What do you think's next in terms of spend management tech and spend management strategies?
It's got to be AI influence for me. So as much as I love the drill down dashboards and things that I'm getting now, I think perhaps the future for that kind of knowledge or information transfer is more like the LLM experience, where you're just talking at a device that's got a microphone and saying, oh, can you just show me this data for Bulgaria for the last 6 months? What's been the growth and what's been the biggest driver for that? You're just talking into it and it's pushing the data at you, pushing it at you either through your heads-up display on your glasses or on the screen in front of you. It is like your instantaneous analyst at that point.
For me, it would be integration of all the scattered data, bring them on one platform, and then try to see what you can analyze out of that. Too much of scattered data.
Same for me. We have so many different tools that give us so much information, market intelligence, ESG, regulatory, and we're halfway there. So I'd like to be able to have a tool, and I think this is definitely something that's coming next, is anybody in the company could go in, Copilot or whatever, and say, what is my highest performing from the sustainability standpoint supplier? And it would give you a report. And it's really integrating all the data that's available to you, making sense of it, and answering the questions.
Charlotte?
I think I'll echo what everybody said. It definitely is at the forefront, AI. It's something we're actually building now at Navan as well, is having, where you can just put in prompt and say, like, where's my biggest area of savings in this department, for instance, or how can I, enhance this or optimize that. So it's definitely something that we're bringing into the product to really gamify the experience as well. But yeah, AI.
Okay, thank you very much. Last chance to ask any questions from the floor?
Can we ask a question to them?
Of course.
How many of here have already seen the success of AI in their organizations?
I'll raise my hand.
I mean, define success. I love my Copilot. It helps me write emails.
I've not seen it in procurement
yeah.
and supply chain yet, but I've seen it in other parts of our business, which again is an inspiration and a bit of a nudge to me to say, come on.
Yeah. We've seen it in support mainly. When things go wrong when you're on the road, having an AI, I hate saying bot because then we automatically think about what we're used to, but it's really not that. It's just being able to free up the time of actual real agents. So it's definitely something that has revolutionized, I think, the travel experience in that sense. It won't replace humans. I don't think we should be scared for our jobs, but it's there to help.
Thank you. Thank you to all of the panel, to Charlotte, Katrina, Nita and John for a fascinating discussion. Thank you very much for watching and joining in this afternoon. We're going to take a networking break now and we will be back again at 2:10. But thank you very much indeed. Round of applause for our panel, please.